Sometimes the richest lessons come wrapped in the poorest voices. One day, a millionaire stood in his bakery when a mother walked in and whispered, "Do you have an expired cake for my daughter?" He heard the words, but what he learned changed his life. When people hear the word wealth, first images that usually come to mind are piles of money, grand houses, luxurious cars, and the glittering symbols of success. Society has conditioned us to equate wealth with material excess. The more you have, the richer you must be. But the story of the mother who came asking for an expired cake reminds us that wealth has a deeper, more human definition, one that often goes unnoticed in the race for achievement. Real wealth is not about accumulating possessions. It is about accumulating moments of meaning, moments where your heart opens, where your character reveals itself, where your humanity becomes visible. Compassion transforms an ordinary human into a wealthy one in ways money never could. It is the currency of the soul, and its value exceeds anything stored in a bank. When the millionaire in the story first heard the woman's hesitant question, "Do you have an expired cake for my daughter?" he experienced a moment of dissonance. It was a request completely outside the world he lived in, a world where customers easily purchased expensive pastries and never questioned the cost. Her request was not just unusual, it was humbling. It stripped away the layers of luxury and exposed a truth that many successful people forget. For some families, even expired food is a treasure. At that moment, the millionaire understood something profound, that there are two types of riches. One is visible, assets, possessions, property. The other is invisible, empathy, kindness, the ability to feel someone's pain and respond to it. The first type makes you wealthy in the eyes of society. The second makes you wealthy in the eyes of humanity. Compassion is the only currency that grows the more you give it away. Money decreases when spent, kindness multiplies, and the millionaire, perhaps for the first time in a long time, realized this difference with stunning clarity. His expensive bakery, the shining showcases, the beautiful decorations, none of these could have given him the sense of fulfillment that came from simply listening to a desperate mother's plea. In modern life, we often get trapped in a system where success is measured by competition. People boast about who has the bigger house, the better car, the more luxurious lifestyle. But no one boasts about who helped more people, who gave more freely, who touched more lives. And yet, when the final chapter of a person's life is written, these are the very things that hold lasting meaning. Compassion makes you rich because it builds a legacy. The mother in the story will forget the price of cakes, but she will never forget the kindness she received. Her daughter will grow up remembering the birthday cake that came not from money, but from generosity. The millionaire, too, walks away with something greater than profit, a story that changes him, a new way of seeing the world, a heart that beats with deeper understanding. This is wealth that cannot be stolen, destroyed, or spent. It only grows stronger. True wealth is felt, not flaunted. It shows up in the quiet moments where you choose to see others as human beings, not as customers or statistics. It is present in the decisions you make when no one is watching, when the world is not applauding. It is demonstrated in how you treat people who cannot give you anything in return. When the millionaire chose to give the woman a fresh cake instead of an expired one, he made a decision that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with humanity. That decision made him richer in a way his wealth never could. It connected him to a deeper purpose, the purpose of using what you have to uplift someone who has less. And that purpose is the true definition of richness. If you think about the greatest stories ever told, the ones that inspire us, move us, make us think, they are rarely about people who own the most. They are about people who gave the most. Compassion leaves behind a trail of goodness that outlasts any fortune. It outlives titles, survives economic conditions, and remains etched in the memories of those who experienced it. Material wealth can buy comfort, but compassion creates connection. Material wealth can build an empire, but compassion builds a heart. Material wealth may impress others, but compassion changes them. Every human being, no matter how rich or poor, is equal in the realm of emotion. Hunger, fear, hope, love, these things make us the same, and compassion is the bridge between two souls who might otherwise remain strangers. When the millionaire looked into the eyes of the mother, he didn't see a poor customer. He saw a parent doing her best. He saw love. He saw sacrifice. He saw a story greater than his own. And in choosing to respond with kindness, he proved that his true wealth was not in the bakery he owned, but in the heart he carried. One of the most powerful truths in life is also one of the easiest to forget. Every person you cross paths with carries a story you know nothing about. A story filled with struggles, sacrifices, fears, dreams, and silent battles. Some people carry their pain like a shadow always behind them, unseen unless you look closely. Others carry it like armor, covering their wounds with a smile. And then there are those, like the mother in the story, whose battle slips through their trembling voice even when they try to hide it. When the millionaire heard her ask, "Do you have an expired cake for my daughter?" He only heard 7 short words, but behind those words stood a world of invisible hardship. Poverty is never just about money. It is about the constant emotional toll of choosing between needs. It is about nights spent worrying, days spent sacrificing, and dreams pushed aside for the sake of survival. The woman wasn't asking for an expired cake because she wanted less. She was asking for it because she believed that less was all she deserved, all she could reach for, all life had allowed her. We often assume that if someone looks calm, they must be okay. If someone smiles, they must be happy. But life is not that simple. People learn to hide pain better than they hide joy. And in a world that moves so fast, we rarely pause to look beyond the surface. We rarely ask ourselves, what might this person be going through? What pain might they be carrying that I cannot see? If Millionaire had judged the woman based solely on her appearance, worn clothes, hesitant speech, nervous posture, he might have dismissed her as just another customer with an unusual request. But when he allowed himself to truly see her, when he looked past the surface, he recognized something far deeper, a mother battling poverty but driven by love. Her battle was invisible to the world but impossible for her to escape. Every person you meet is walking on a path shaped by challenges. Some are grieving losses that still feel fresh. Some are recovering from failures no one talks about. Some are carrying responsibilities that weigh heavier than their shoulders can bear. Some are just trying to get through the day without breaking down, and yet they continue quietly, silently, bravely. Understanding this truth changes the way we treat people. It softens our tone, widens our perspective, and deepens our compassion. It reminds us that impatience, anger, or judgment might add pressure to someone who is already struggling under a burden we cannot see. The woman in the bakery was not only fighting economic hardship, she was fighting the emotional battle of wanting to give her daughter a moment of happiness on her birthday. Imagine the inner dialogue she must have had before stepping into the bakery. Should I ask? Will they look down on me? Will they refuse? Will they embarrass me? So many people buy from here. What if I ruin my daughter's birthday hopes? What if they say no? What if I fail her? These thoughts alone can exhaust a person before they even open their mouth. Her battle started long before she stood in front of the millionaire. And when she spoke, her voice carried not just her request, but her fears, her worries, and her love for her child. We pass thousands of people in our lifetime, each one carrying a battle like this, and yet it is so easy to forget. It is easy to assume someone is rude when in reality they might be hurt. It is easy to assume someone is lazy when they might be exhausted. It is easy to assume someone is unkind when they might be overwhelmed. It is easy to assume someone is distant when they might be grieving. When we remember that every person is carrying something unseen, we learn to respond with gentleness instead of irritation, curiosity instead of judgment, kindness instead of indifference. The millionaire learned this in one brief moment. He realized that the woman wasn't looking for charity, she was looking for dignity. She wasn't looking for cake, she was looking for a way to make her daughter feel special despite their circumstances. It is also a reminder to be kinder to ourselves. Sometimes we are the ones fighting unseen battles. Sometimes we are the ones walking into a room hoping no one notices the storm inside us. And yet we push forward, we keep going, we hold on. Recognizing that others are fighting their own storms helps us feel less alone in ours. The beauty of this key point lies in its universality. Whether rich or poor, young or old, educated or uneducated, every human lives a hidden life beneath their visible one. And it is only through empathy that we bridge the gap between what we see and what we fail to see. The millionaire at first saw only a customer, but through compassion, He saw a struggling mother, and eventually, through understanding, he saw a fellow human being trying her best. When we allow ourselves to see deeper, we don't just change the way we treat others, we change the way we experience the world. We slow down, we listen more, and we respond with awareness instead of assumption, and sometimes seeing a person's invisible battle is the first step toward helping them win it. There is a common belief that only grand gestures change lives, that only massive donations, large-scale charity, or dramatic actions hold the power to transform someone's situation. But real life proves something very different. It is often the smallest acts of kindness that leave the deepest marks on the human heart. A gentle word, a listening ear, a simple favor, a tiny moment of compassion, these can echo through a person's life far longer than we imagine. When the millionaire handed the mother a fresh, beautiful cake instead of the expired one she requested, he performed an act that took him only seconds. It did not cost him much. It did not require planning, publicity, or effort. But for that mother and for her daughter waiting at home, this small act was not small at all. It was a gift wrapped in dignity, love, and hope. It was a reminder that goodness still exists in the world, even for people who rarely experience it. This is the powerful paradox of kindness. What feels small to the giver can feel enormous to the receiver. The mother walked into the bakery, expecting rejection, embarrassment, or at best, a stale cake. She walked out with a fresh dessert symbolizing something far more valuable, that her daughter's happiness mattered, that someone cared, that despite life's struggles, there was still a place where compassion had not been replaced by judgment. For the millionaire, giving away a cake might have seemed insignificant compared to his daily transactions, but the impact of that moment did not fade with the closing of his shop that night. It stayed with him, it reshaped his understanding of wealth, it inspired him to reflect more deeply on the responsibilities that come with privilege, and it reminded him of the humanity at the core of every business and every interaction. In this way, a small act of kindness did not just change the mother's day, it changed him. Acts of kindness ripple outward in ways we cannot predict. A child who experiences kindness may grow up wanting to help others. A parent who receives support may find renewed strength to keep going. A stranger who receives compassion might pass it forward to someone else. Kindness is contagious, and once it is experienced, it rarely stops with one person. It travels through hearts, through stories, and through moments that unfold later in life. We underestimate the power of kindness because we underestimate how much people carry inside them, how much hurt, disappointment, stress, loneliness, and exhaustion they endure silently. When someone shows kindness, it breaks the cycle of negativity and reminds the heart that it is still worthy of warmth. Imagine the mother cutting that cake for her daughter. Imagine the look on the child's face, the joy, the surprise, the feeling of being celebrated. That moment becomes a memory. Maybe the daughter grows up believing more deeply in generosity. Maybe she learns that goodness can appear in unexpected places. Maybe she becomes someone who helps others because she once received help when she needed it most. We often forget how fragile the human spirit can be, and how a single act can strengthen it. Words can either wound or heal. Actions can either close hearts or open them. The difference between the two is often just a moment of conscious choice. Every day, we encounter countless opportunities for small acts of kindness. Holding the door for someone who looks tired, offering a sincere compliment, checking on a friend who is unusually quiet, sharing food with someone who may not ask for it but needs it, smiling at a stranger, listening without judgment. These moments require almost no effort, but their impact can be greater than we imagine. In the story, the millionaire chose kindness in a situation where it would have been easy to ignore or dismiss the woman. He could have told her they don't give away expired cakes. He could have waved her off politely. He could have treated her with the cold professionalism that sometimes takes over in business. But instead, he made a choice, a simple, small, human choice that turned an ordinary interaction into something unforgettable. This is the lesson many of us need to carry forward. Kindness is not measured by size, but by sincerity. A giant act done for praise carries less power than a small act done from the heart. People rarely remember the exact words spoken to them, but they always remember how someone made them feel. They remember the warmth, the compassion, the sense of being seen, and those memories shape their outlook on life. Small acts of kindness also create connection. They build bridges between strangers. They soften the walls we build around ourselves. They remind us that despite differences in wealth, status, or background, we are all human beings who thrive on compassion. The millionaire might forget the details of that day, the number of customers, the sales made, but he will never forget the moment he handed a cake to that mother, because kindness does not fade from memory. It imprints itself. The world may try to measure success in numbers, but the heart measures it in kindness. And the smallest acts are sometimes the ones that live the longest. Pride is a complex emotion. It can push people to achieve greatness, to set high standards, to pursue excellence. But pride also has a darker, quieter side, one that builds walls between human hearts. It is the kind of pride that whispers, helping them is beneath you, or they should manage their own problems, or worse, it's not your responsibility. In the story of the millionaire and the mother searching for an expired cake, we see what happens when someone chooses humility over pride, humanity over ego, and compassion over comfort. When the woman asked, in her soft and trembling voice, whether the bakery had an expired cake for her daughter, the millionaire faced a moment of internal conflict, one all of us encounter at some point. Part of him could have easily dismissed her request. After all, he was a millionaire, the owner of a luxurious bakery known for its premium quality. Why should he bother with a woman who could not even afford a day-old dessert? He could have let pride speak for him. He could have said, "We do not serve expired food." He could have looked away, pretending not to notice her embarrassment. He could have wrapped himself in the comfort of superiority and allowed his success to shield him from the struggles of those below his economic level. But he didn't. In that moment, he allowed himself to step down from the pedestal society had placed him on. He recognized the vulnerability standing in front of him. He chose humility, a virtue far more powerful than pride. Why is pride so dangerous when it comes to helping others? Because pride convinces us that we lose something by helping. It tells us that offering assistance somehow diminishes our status, our time, our accomplishments. Pride builds invisible distance. It separates the fortunate from the unfortunate, not because the gap is real, but because the ego insists it must be preserved. Imagine if the millionaire had allowed pride to guide his response. The mother would have walked out with nothing but disappointment, and her daughter's birthday would have remained just another difficult day. The millionaire himself would have walked away unchanged, unaware of the profound lesson he was meant to receive. One moment of pride could have erased an entire opportunity for growth for both of them. Humility, on the other hand, bridges the distance. It reminds us that no matter how far we've come, we are still human first. We still share the same emotional threads: hope, fear, love, pain. Humility teaches us that helping someone does not make us weaker. It makes us wiser. The millionaire's decision to personally go to the back, pick out the freshest and most beautiful cake, and hand it to the mother without hesitation showed a deep understanding. Helping others is not a burden, it is a privilege. And that is something pride never allows us to see. The truth is, helping someone does not diminish you, it expands you. It stretches your compassion, deepens your humanity, and strengthens your character. Pride keeps your world small. Humility opens it. Many people think offering help is about money, but most of the time it isn't. It is about willingness. It is about emotional generosity. It is about recognizing another person's humanity. It is about setting aside the ego even for a moment so that kindness can step forward. Think about how the mother felt at that moment. Her pride had already been tested. Asking for expired food is an act of desperation that most parents hope they will never have to experience. She had swallowed her own pride for the sake of her daughter. And now, standing in front of a wealthy stranger, she waited for a response that could either restore her dignity or crush it further. If the millionaire had responded with pride, he would have reinforced her humiliation. But his humility became a gentle hand lifting her spirit, and that is why the moment resonates so deeply. True strength is not in standing above others, it is in lifting others up. Many people let pride become a barrier because they fear being taken advantage of. They fear being perceived as weak. They fear giving more than they receive. But real generosity is not about balance sheets. It is about impact. The millionaire did not measure the cost of the cake. He measured the value of the moment. He chose the path that would give meaning, not the one that protected his ego. Often, pride disguises itself in logical arguments. I can't help everyone. It's not my responsibility. They should work harder. They should solve their own problems. But behind those statements lies a deeper truth, a fear of vulnerability. Helping someone means acknowledging that life can be unpredictable, that circumstances can change, that fortune can shift. And for some, that humility is uncomfortable. But humility is the foundation of kindness. You cannot truly help someone if you stand above them. You must stand with them. In the story, the millionaire did exactly that. He set aside his pride and chose empathy. And in doing so, he did not lose anything. In fact, he gained something far greater, a renewed understanding of what it means to be human. Gratitude is one of the most underestimated forms of wealth. It doesn't sit in a bank account, it doesn't shine like gold, and it cannot be measured in numbers. Yet its presence can transform a moment, a relationship, and even a life. Gratitude is a wealth of the heart, a richness that grows not from what you have, but from how deeply you appreciate it. In the story of the mother and the millionaire, gratitude appears quietly, like a soft light shining through a dark room. When the millionaire handed her the fresh cake, the mother did not react with excitement or loud expressions of joy. Instead, she reacted with tears, silent, powerful tears filled with meaning. Her gratitude was not about receiving a cake. It was about being seen, respected, and valued. For someone who has been ignored, judged, or dismissed by society, a moment of compassion can feel like a lifeline. The mother's gratitude came from more than the physical gift. It came from the emotional relief of knowing that kindness still existed. That someone, even a wealthy stranger, recognized her dignity. Gratitude is often strongest in those who have the least, not because they lack, but because they understand the value of every blessing. People who struggle daily learn to appreciate small moments, a kind gesture, a warm smile, a helping hand. They see richness in places others overlook. The millionaire, on the other hand, lived in abundance. He had wealth, success, comfort, and reputation. Yet it was the mother's gratitude, so raw and honest, that touched him in a way nothing else had. Her tears reminded him of something he had forgotten, that the greatest richness is not in having more, but in feeling more. This is where gratitude becomes transformative. It forces us to look inward and reflect. In our pursuit of success, we often lose sight of the very things that once mattered. We chase bigger goals, larger numbers, higher achievements, and in the process, our appreciation dulls. What once excited us becomes routine. What once felt like a blessing becomes an expectation. Gratitude fades, and with it, our sense of fulfillment. But gratitude, when rekindled, restores depth to life. It reminds us that every comfort we enjoy is privilege, not entitlement. It reawakens our ability to feel joy in simple things. It makes us realize that the world is full of unnoticed gifts. When the millionaire witnessed the mother's gratitude, something awakened within him. It challenged his understanding of wealth. He realized that richness was not in his bank account, but in the emotions exchanged in that moment. Her gratitude gave him a sense of purpose his money never had. It filled a space success had left empty. In her humble thank you, he felt a wealth he had never known before. Gratitude is especially powerful because it is reciprocal. When you give with sincerity, the gratitude of the receiver becomes a gift back to you. It nourishes your soul. gives meaning to your actions, and strengthens your empathy. The millionaire gave a cake, but he received something far greater, a moment that shifted his perspective on life. Gratitude also deepens the connection between people. In that brief exchange, the millionaire and the mother, two individuals from entirely different worlds, found themselves linked through a shared human experience. Her gratitude closed the gap between wealth and poverty, between comfort and struggle. It proved that emotions, not assets, are what truly connect us. What makes gratitude even more powerful is that it can transform pain into strength. For the mother, the act of asking for an expired cake was painful, humiliating even. But receiving kindness in return transformed that moment of weakness into a memory of hope. Her gratitude was not just for the cake, it was for the way the universe showed her she wasn't alone. In our own lives, gratitude often arrives in moments when we realize that things could have been different, worse, harder, more painful, but somehow we were spared. It teaches us humility. It teaches us perspective. It teaches us the value of generosity. Sometimes the people who express the deepest gratitude are those who know what it feels like to have nothing. They appreciate every small blessing because they have spent many days without one. Gratitude makes them rich in a way money cannot. The millionaire learned something essential. You can be wealthy in possessions but poor in gratitude. And you can be poor in possessions but wealthy in gratitude. The mother, despite her struggle, carried a richness in her heart that the millionaire had not discovered until that moment. Her gratitude became a mirror, reflecting a truth he had forgotten, that the most beautiful form of wealth is the ability to feel blessed, to acknowledge kindness, and to see goodness even in difficult times. Gratitude does not require money, status, or power. It only requires awareness, the awareness to recognize a blessing when it appears, no matter how small. And once gratitude becomes part of you, you begin to see the world through a lens of abundance, not lack. You begin to appreciate people more deeply, moments more sincerely, and actions more meaningfully. In the bakery, the mother's gratitude created a moment that neither she nor the millionaire would forget. And in that moment, richness took on a new meaning not measured in currency, but in humanity. Success is often portrayed as a destination, a point a person reaches after hard work, discipline, and perseverance. It is symbolized by money, fame, influence, and comfort. But what many people discover, sometimes only after achieving these things, is that success on its own can feel strangely hollow. The numbers may rise, the luxuries may grow, the status may climb, yet something inside remains untouched, searching for a deeper purpose. That purpose reveals itself when success becomes service. In the story of the millionaire and the mother, the man had already achieved outward success. He owned a popular bakery, enjoyed financial stability, and lived a life many would admire. But when the mother walked in and asked for an expired cake, she unknowingly held up a mirror to him. In that moment, he saw the side of success he had overlooked, the side that carries responsibility, compassion, and the power to uplift others. His wealth gave him the ability to make someone's life easier, even if only for a moment. His bakery gave him resources that others lacked. His position gave him choices that could change the course of a stranger's day. And it was only when he used his success in service of someone else that he felt its true value. The cake he gave was not just a dessert. It was a symbol of what success becomes when it is shared, a source of joy, relief, and hope. This is a truth that many people discover too late. Success without service is incomplete. It may satisfy the ego, but it does not nourish the soul. It may build comfort, but it does not build connection. It may create abundance, but it does not create meaning. Service, on the other hand, gives success a heartbeat. People often believe that serving others requires large-scale action, charity foundations, massive donations, or public philanthropy. But meaningful service can be simple, quiet, and personal. It can be as small as a fresh cake handed to a struggling mother, a meal offered to a hungry person, or a moment of generosity extended to someone who least expects it. Success becomes powerful when it becomes purposeful. The millionaire could have looked at the mother's request as irrelevant, inconvenient, or outside his obligations. But instead, he saw an opportunity to use what he had built, his bakery, his resources, his stability, to bring a smile to someone who had little to smile about. That shift from self-centered achievement to outward, focused service is what defines meaningful success. When success becomes service, it transforms in multiple ways. It transforms the giver. The millionaire walked away with a new understanding of the world and of himself. His gesture didn't make him poorer, it made him richer in perspective. It allowed him to experience fulfillment that wealth alone could not offer. It transforms the receiver. The mother received more than a cake. She received dignity, kindness, and the reassurance that her daughter's birthday mattered. She received a moment that lifted the weight of her struggles, even if temporarily. It transforms society. Every small act of service contributes to a culture where support replaces judgment, compassion replaces indifference, and humanity replaces selfishness. People often assume that service flows from the rich to the poor. But service is not limited by wealth. Anyone, at any level of life, can serve. You can serve with time, with kindness, with words, with attention, with empathy. You can serve by being present for someone who feels invisible, by lifting up someone who feels defeated, by sharing knowledge with someone who feels lost. But when you do have success, whether in money, influence, skill, or opportunity, your responsibility to serve becomes even stronger. Because you now have more ability to create impact. The millionaire's wealth gave him the power to make a difference, but it was his heart that directed that power. Success provides the tools, service gives them direction. Many people spend their lives climbing the ladder of success, only to discover that the view from the top is meaningless if they stand there alone. Success becomes truly fulfilling only when you extend a hand downward to pull someone else upward. When you share your blessings, you multiply them. When you give, you receive a sense of purpose deeper than any financial reward. In the bakery that day, service turned a business transaction into a moment of humanity. It turned a millionaire into a giver and a struggling mother into someone worthy of kindness. It turned a simple cake into a symbol of what success can achieve when guided by compassion. Service gives meaning to achievements because it connects your success to something greater than yourself. It transforms personal victories into communal benefits. It ensures that your success is not isolated, but shared, not just enjoyed, but used to uplift others. This is why some of the most respected people in history are not remembered for how much they owned, but for how much they gave. Their legacy lives not in their wealth, but in their service. Success fades if it stays locked away within you, but when you use your success to help others, it becomes timeless. It becomes a story worth telling, a memory worth holding, and a legacy worth leaving. The millionaire, in that brief encounter, discovered this truth. His success gained meaning the moment it served someone who truly needed it. Ladies and gentlemen, the millionaire in this story walked into his bakery thinking it was just another ordinary day, but he walked out with a changed heart. A simple question, a mother's trembling voice, and a child waiting for a birthday cake became a mirror reflecting what success, compassion, and humanity truly mean. We often chase wealth, chase achievements, chase recognition. But moments like this remind us that the real measure of a person lies not in what they own, but in what they give. Not in how high they rise, but in how deeply they care. Not in their status, but in their willingness to see the battles others silently fight. A fresh cake didn't change the world, but it changed their world, and sometimes that is enough. So I ask you today, if a millionaire can pause his pride, open his heart, and choose kindness, if a struggling mother can show gratitude despite hardship, if a child can dream of a birthday even in poverty, then surely we can find small ways to make someone's life a little brighter, because kindness doesn't require wealth. Compassion doesn't require success. And humanity doesn't require a title. In the end, what you give becomes your true richness, and the love you share becomes your true legacy. May we all carry this lesson forward to see others, to serve others, and to leave the world a little softer than we found it.